And, yeah, great. Well, anyway, now we're with Mr. Denis Flanagan, the PR manager for Agriculture Landscape Ontario. Denis, welcome to that channel. So Denis, tell me a little bit about Landscape Ontario.
Yeah, Landscape Ontario is it's a not-for-profit provincial association. We have over 2,000 members that belong to our association, from Kingston to Ottawa down to Windsor. And primarily they're landscape contractors, garden centers, arborists, irrigation guys, anything in the green industry, basically. So we like to say that we're the original green industry.
You're wearing green, I just noticed.
I'm wearing green, yeah. We like to promote anything to do with green.
Yeah.
And we've sort of rebranded recently and with a new slogan that says Green for Life, which sort of expands it beyond gardening in so much as it's to do with education, getting young people involved in gardening. It makes you feel better, you know. And tremendous studies have come out of some, mainly hospitals, the incredible effect that gardening, horticulture, color has on the effect of patients. The studies in London, Ontario that have shown that the recovery time is actually reduced when patients are involved in horticulture.
Well, to be honest with you, like I'm sitting here, I've been here like a whole 5 minutes around these plants, and I can smell them. There is something refreshing about that.
More,
yeah, absolutely.
It's more than that, Randy. It's
what is it, Dan?
It's, to me, anyways. It's not exact. It's not human, but they're life entities that are sharing time with you. I guess
we would not be living today without plants.
Yeah.
So you know, trees cleanse the air, and we breathe in the oxygen they give out. So
that's
there's
right, exactly.
Tremendous connection between humans and plants. And this whole study recently about how children over the last 20 years became a little disconnected with nature.
Yeah.
And there's a big movement right now to get plants, horticulture, greening of schoolyards, and the amazing effect that that's having on the expanded education of kids.
Right.
They learn better.
And I noticed when we were kids, we pick up the plant, and there's a whole thing about picking it and giving it to somebody you know that's nearby.
You big flirt, Dan.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Ever since we were kids, though, really.
I know, it's very
Never mind what he said.
It's very cool. And so many of the programs that we get involved in is encouraging young people to get into gardening programs, and it's one of our passions, actually. So
we hear it's therapeutic, too. You hear that all the time for
all
people
the time.
To go into planning.
From one end to the other, from young kids to seniors. You know, the whole gamut of ages. Get into gardening.
I interviewed, not to take anything away from you, I just want to say this quickly. Alan Burns, famous big band leader in Europe from America on klezmer music, and his big thing on the interview was the complaints about society in America, Canada, too much overconsumption of things, buying things, maybe with wristwatches, and not enough creativity. Even he was saying planting. That's what he was saying. Not just music, but planting. He threw that in. There's a whole creative thing involved.
It's an absolutely whole creative thing, yeah. And what I find is there's a lot of stresses in life right now.
Yeah.
Whether you're driving or going to work or whatever, or listening to the news.
Or family stuff,
Everyone's getting stressed.
Yeah.
And to me, one of the biggest stress busters is getting out, getting your hands dirty, planting things, enjoying nature. And I love the title of your show, Liquid Lunch. That's very cool.
Thank
actually.
you.
And I thought
I attribute that to my business partner, Hugh Riley, for founding it. It's really his show. I'm just actually...
well done, Hugh. And I celebrated that fact by bringing in this because I sort of
love it.
I know, but you see, if you do get stressed out in the garden, you know, just go and pick up a nice bottle of wine, right? When you finish the bottle of wine, these wonderful boxes, actually, you just create a little project with kids. And you get a drill and you make some holes in it. And you put some bark inside, and you hang it near a butterfly bush, and you will have butterflies coming to your garden. And there you
Oh,
go.
nice.
So that was my tribute to Liquid Lunch, is picking up one of those.
Sorry, what
Oh,
does the
thank
butterfly
you.
do? What does the butterfly do again? I'm
The
sorry.
butterfly, well, that's why these slots are only a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, right.
Because a butterfly will close its wings and get in out of the sun. It'll come in here, and they need to lay their eggs on bark.
Oh, I see.
So if you put the bark inside, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
the butterfly will actually lay eggs, and it'll increase your butterfly population in the garden.
Isn't
And
that
it's
something?
and there it is. So
Nice.
thank you, wine stores.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's great. It's great to recycle. Let me ask you. My girlfriend's studying landscape architecture in Guelph,
Excellent.
and the big trend right now seems to be green cities. Like cities are trying to How has that affected you and your organization? Because I'm sure that you've had a mandate. You've been around for a while, and
Yep.
and then all this trend. I'm sure you saw it coming.
Yeah.
But how exciting is this time for you?
Oh, it's tremendously exciting. I mean, there are literally millions of flat roofs in every city, and completely underutilized. And so, yes, our landscape architects, designers, contractors are getting together. There's lots of new associations being built to deal with the green roof technology. And that's the kind of cool thing, because it is really technology. So you have to really combine the sciences of not only horticulture, agriculture, but engineering and water capacity saving. So all those elements are coming together right now, so on some really cool. And I mean cool literally, because the biggest effect of green roofs is cooling buildings down. One of our biggest problems in cities is how hot cities are.
Yeah.
You got concrete and asphalt and brick, and the sun beats down, and we live in a very very hot cities. What green roofs do is percolate water, cool our buildings down, and cool our cities down. So
The overload of rain. I'm just being
Yep.
devil's advocate for a second, because I don't
Yep.
know. How do you do? What's the solution from the technology end to deal with those big rainstorms, hurricanes, whatever?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a great question. And that's the technology
Yeah,
side of it.
that
So
technology side.
working with engineers to make sure that before you even get soil and plants up there,
Yeah.
that the engineering
system.
surface has been done. There's
Drainage,
drainage,
yeah.
irrigation if needed. That water is being directed. But
Right.
best of that story is that it gets reused. It gets recycled.
Ah.
And so
Yeah.
now the green roof that your girlfriend would be working on is now a rain harvesting machine. It collects the
Isn't
water
that something?
and reuses it.
So it's filtered through the soil and then gets stored
Yep.
and then reused
And
without ever probably hitting the ground.
being wasted, and so it's a tremendous movement in there. It did sort of start on the West Coast a bit more, as many things do, and what we're finding in eastern cities, in Toronto, some buildings were never built to hold
Right.
the weight,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
and so that's again where
So
the
you got to readjust
Yeah.
that support system. Israel apparently is known, not to pump Israel, but on recycling the water
Yes.
and the planting thing, because they built out of nothing, the marshes and the deserts.
Yep.
So they've been, I don't know if anything's picked up from some of the
Absolutely.
sources there.
Yeah, it's a worldwide movement. This whole greening cities.
Yeah.
And there's actually a new phrase that's come up, and it's called green infrastructure. Because when politicians talk about infrastructure in cities, they talk about concrete and drains and sewers. They never talk about the green infrastructure. And there's been great studies done in Liverpool, England, on the value of green infrastructure, and it's millions and millions and millions of dollars that green infrastructure brings to a city.
I regret that they didn't allow, just a little aside, the woman that represented the Green Party come to that debate to at least advise those other characters that are running about green infrastructure.
No, but they all know about it already,
do? They
Daniel.
do?
For sure they do. They all know about it. But the thing is that anybody who gives a damn about green is not 80 years old and worried about it. They're more worried about their pensions. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of it. I mean,
There's two truths to that. One is, politicians will often only look at a subject when there's a dollar figure attached to it. And in the past, typically greening of cities hasn't had a dollar figure attached to it.
Yeah.
And now, that's coming, and hopefully all parties will look at that and say, holy moly, you know, there's something in this. It's not only, you know, great for health, but there's a political reason behind it.
Yeah.
The biggest trend, as well as, you know, the green roofs, is growing your own food.
Oh, really?
Enormous interest.
I've always found that was big in Montreal. When I lived there in Montreal, there's these community gardens everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have them in Toronto somewhere, but I don't see them as much.
They do. Not as many community gardens as just couples and families and people just saying, I want to grow my own food. And that could be as simple as just a pot of herbs on a balcony.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
That's all, you know.
My girlfriend does
you know,
that.
that could be as simple as that. But
there's a movement to encourage people to
grow your own.
And Daniel, they even have ones out now that are like planters for balconies.
Yeah.
That allow you to do that and facilitate tomato growing and.
So it coined another new phrase, which is urban farming, which is basically people saying, even if I've got a tiny little lot of land, a balcony, how cool is it that I know that I grew that pepper, and I can go out and pick that fresh pepper, and I know where it came from. I know what I fed it with. I know what I did or didn't treat it with. So. That's enormous.
I'm just wondering if there's, like, my folks have a plot of land on Chaplin Crescent in Toronto.
Yeah.
And the trees are such that it sort of blocks some of the light that could come in. The grass never grew properly. If it's about, I don't know, 1,000 square feet, 800 square feet. If there was actually an organization, worked it out with my older folks, say, let us plant. It's organic farming. It's for other people, but it's still your land.
Yeah. But you said there's no sun there, though.
They'll set up the green. They'll put up the thing.
I mean, you said there's no sun there, though.
There is some sun, but there is some blockage. So maybe it's not the right.
Well, and that's why you know some
of
the traditional trends are being kind of kicked at, and you see people growing vegetables in their front gardens.
Yeah.
And that's you can go down any street in Toronto right now. People are growing vegetables in their front garden, which they never did, a few years ago. So.
And I find that very much more popular with the ethnic neighborhoods because my brother lives in Japan. When the family came over for the wedding, they couldn't understand because we're from the East Coast, so everybody's got big yards, big lawns, and they just couldn't understand why we would grow grass as opposed to farm.
Something you can use.
Like, that's exactly what they felt. They felt it was a total waste of land. They said they can't believe we don't make reap some benefit from that land.
Yeah, so there it is again. As we sort of become more and more immigrants come to this country, it's great because we're getting influences and we're seeing plants that particularly vegetable plants, we've never seen before. Because they bring them or demand that the trade is starting to find the seeds for them. And it's fair. I mean, the variety in garden centers is just fabulous right now.
There are people that can give advice about the type of earth and whatever to get the thing going.
Oh, yeah.
In the earth. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when I'm out there constantly giving advice, that's what I tell people is always to start with the soil and get it analyzed so you know what you're dealing with. Right. And it makes your life so much easier several years down the road because you can't do much once you've planted, right? So, I mean, it's kind of cool. It's been a bit of a tricky year weather-wise.
Do you want to talk about any of these plants in particular,
we can if you like. I mean, what's happening now is because of the winter, people are just dying to get out there and do something on front porches, on front gardens, back gardens. And the word of caution is sort of know where plants come from and how hardy they are. So right now you're seeing things like, this is called a grape hyacinth, which is the original hyacinths. And you'll see these popping up wild in lawns right now. Very, very pretty. They'll be coming up in lawns right now. And these will handle if we get cold temperatures again. So we can have snow. We can have freezing weather at night, and these guys will just keep on going. And that's because they originate from cooler climates.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're nice. They're really pretty.
They're very pretty. And when we talk about hybridizing, if you want to grab that next pot there, so that's how hybridizing works. You
hybridize.
You take the original species, which is always much smaller.
Oh, the hybrid.
Right?
Okay.
and it's bred, it's crossbred with another variety to get bigger flowers, larger flowers, more scented flowers. So the breeders, the guys in the seed business, the greenhouse business, cross hybrid plants to get bigger, better plants. And
I was
like
taught in grade-
how do you do that?
Yeah, because I was taught in grade 4, but I forgot.
You basically have
that's right.
a bunch of
Yeah.
bees that work for you.
You got it.
Oh.
In nature, that happens. With hybridizers, they get a little bit more specific, and they will select 2 plants, and actually get a paintbrush and cross-pollinate between the plants. And if you want to take it one step further, when you go to universities now, horticultural universities, there's something called tissue culture, which is, it's in a lab, and that's how these hybridizations
Wow.
I'm sorry, the bee does, or who?
No, they take a paintbrush and they do
Oh,
it,
really?
and then they can even go even farther than that. They can open the cell, I'm sure.
Oh,
Absolutely,
and do that.
cross-pollinate. So where a plant comes from tells you a little bit about how we look after it. So later on in the season, it's too early for these hot, tropical types of plants like petunias, this gorgeous Gerbera daisy here. These come from South Africa. And
South Africa, really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
I love talking to South Africans here because they will, this is like a dandelion to them. And they come here and I don't know, what's the
There
price
you go,
on
Dan. Don't pick it, Dan. Don't give it to somebody, okay?
What's the price on the back of the pot?
That's
there's
$8.
$8. So you,
Yeah.
It's
What the-
dandelions where we come from. So
Yeah.
it's
Right
kind
again.
of, the whole sort of world is interesting. So sort of advice to people is you got to stage the season a little bit. Use cool weather plants like violas and pansies and hyacinths and things that will take the cooler temperatures. And although the garden centers or greenhouses are full of the tropical stuff right now, a little too early to put it outside.
Yeah.
So you can buy it and keep it in the house, and then put it.
Yeah, my girlfriend was
outside.
saying you usually have to wait till the May long weekend because it's usually because you can still get a frost between now and then.
Yeah, you can. I mean, traditionally that was always the weekend in Canada or at least Ontario. Out west it's different, but it varies, and there's tricks that you can do. You can plant up in mid-April and just be prepared to bring it inside for the night. It's not the daytime temperatures.
Yeah, well, because she also does it as a business, it's one of those things
Yeah.
where if she plants, it's kind of difficult to,
That's right.
call the client, go, move everything inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why she was saying towards the end of May before they plant anything,
Yep.
because it costs a lot of money to have
Yeah,
somebody come in and do that.
Yeah, it does, and timing is, I mean, when it comes down to gardening, it's always to do with timing, soil conditions and timing, and shade and sun, and you really sort of, I'm sure, she'll know that, your girlfriend, you have to study all those basics before you even get into the design end of
Well,
things.
let's talk about you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Where are you from, first of all?
I grew up in England, and I studied horticulture in England. Horticulture.
And this all started because your mother told you to go out and play.
Yeah, no.
Kicked you out of the house? No.
Let's
Okay,
see,
so what's the
How did
truth?
this all start? Well, how did this start? My dad was a big gardener, and I would have a fight with him because he'd try to use the storage shed for storing bulbs, and I'd want to have an old motorcycle in there.
Yeah,
so that's
of course.
Yeah.
So you were 18 then, maybe?
Yeah,
or
and
something?
I went to school and took sciences at first, and I got kicked out because I wasn't any good at it.
Hey, listen, Faulkner, Nobel Prize winner
Yeah.
for literature, and Einstein were both kicked out of
There you
school.
go.
So there you go.
So I got kicked out. I went to work for a nursery to make some money because I wanted to buy a new motorbike. And this wonderful South African sea captain who had taken over this nursery sort of took me under his wing, and we went and planted gardens for the royal family, and we won a gold medal at the famous Chelsea Flower Show. And all of a sudden, I was bitten by this thing, this horticultural thing, and this is cool. So I then went back to school for 4 years and took horticulture, and it's just been a passion ever since then. And I think everyone in their life could maybe pick one person that maybe made a difference in their life. And this guy Arthur George was a nurseryman and made a difference in my life. And
Fantastic.
that was 30 years ago.
Fantastic.
So it was good.
So You're living here. You have a family here with you?
Yeah, I moved here. First, I came on a sort of co-op placement thing when I was at school and made some contacts. I wanted to come back, and I advertised my name in a trade magazine, and I had 2 job offers. One, I had been to neither place. One was some place called the Okanagan Valley in BC, and some place was called Oakville, Ontario. And I was literally in London, England. I flipped a coin, and it came to Oakville, Ontario.
Wow.
I've since visited the Okanagan.
Yeah, of course.
No, I haven't been there, but I heard it's beautiful, beautiful.
That bloody
Okanagan.
coin, I wish I could find it.
It's not worth anything today. It's not worth anything. I want to melt it down.
You still work Oakville. It's for people, and you're doing for people and whatever, and Oakville's fine. You got Toronto here. But the Okanagan Valley is apparently stunning.
Yeah, it is. It's you know, coming up to this time of year, it's absolutely stunning. So so it was cool. I took up, you know, landscape design and here and designed mainly in the Toronto area for lots of people. Designed hundreds of gardens, and then I had been doing some public relations for the company, the garden center company. I had a call one Thursday evening saying, "Do you think you'd like to host your own TV show?" I said, "I got a nice salary. I've got 2 little kids, a mortgage." I'll get back to you. And it was my wife that said, "You'll regret it. One day you'll regret it." So I said, okay. I gave up my job. The HGTV gave me a 6-month contract to do a gardening show, and I did it for 10 years.
That's fantastic.
And it was just a really kind of a chapter in my life, and I'm glad I did it.
Where can people go see this show?
We did 2. It was called The Indoor Gardener, where we used to focus on indoor plants, and then that went into a show called One Garden, 2 Looks, which was based in Toronto, although everyone that looked at it thought it was British Columbia. I don't know why. But the concept of that show was I hosted it with another designer, and we would pick 2 identical houses side by side and do 2 totally opposite garden designs. So it might be a Japanese style versus an English style, Mediterranean, you know, versus a Victorian garden. And so the premise of the show was, after a week, the homeowners ended up with these 2, although they lived next door to each other in identical townhouses, they ended up with 2 totally different styles.
Fantastic.
It was fun, a lot of fun.
Great premise. Great premise for a show.
Yeah.
No, that's one of those things. See, so the coin.
It worked its way.
Worked all right. I mean, you don't get that very often. We just got a couple minutes, but go ahead, Daniel.
What is, first of all, I think, I'm just wondering, have you been a guest on CFRB where people phone in to ask? I heard you. I was driving the car.
Yeah.
People asking all kinds of questions on a Sunday morning, isn't it?
Yeah. I've done a lot of radio, a lot of TV.
Yeah.
And now I do that. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I do that for Landscape Ontario to basically promote the 2,000 members in our organization, to promote horticulture, and I'm quite sincere about that. I just am so passionate about plants and horticulture. It's not a job. I just love doing it.
That's fantastic.
And how
Dennis.
can people reach you, or what's your contact?
Through our website, through landscapeontario.com.
Okay.
If people actually have a garden, so they can contact our members, or you can actually just send in a gardening question, and it'll get answered for you. So.
Fantastic.
Through our website, so it's a useful website.
And they can somehow get hold of you too.
Yeah, on the website, I'm listed on there, so if they want to contact me, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys are very casual, very good. You know.
Well, we try to be casual.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. This is our style. This is what
I
we
just
do.
get uptight when he calls me Sabertooth. I'm okay.
Maybe it was the plants that
cat, right?
Yeah.
Saber-tooth tiger, cat.
Doesn't do
This
good
is
for the
last name.
flowers.
Cats. Well, listen, Dennis, I want to thank you so much. We have to wrap it up, but wow, what a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks very much.
And pleasure to meet you after those, everything that you've done and accomplished. And it's nice to see somebody who's passionate about what they do.
It's been great.
And hopefully we can get you to come back in.
That'd be
and,
cool. That'd be
we'll get you to come in on a regular basis.
And
Daniel, thank you.
Okay, and thank you for saying thank you.
Always a pleasure,
And,
Daniel. It's kind of funny. I rarely host the show.
Yeah.
But it seems most often happen that you get stuck with me.
There you go.
It's,
it was a last-minute call from the great Hugh Riley.
That's right. That's right. I want to thank everybody teching the show, Ahmed, Blue, and Brendan, and all our great guests today, Nick Tien and Sophia Zoe, and of course, Denis Flanagan. And most of all, I want to thank you for tuning in. hope to catch you
Can
again
I
here
just say-
on Yes. Before. Go ahead, Daniel.
And I would be blue. Blue, I just want to say this to you. I'd be blue if it was not for you.
And that's what I was interrupted for. Wow. All right. That's what makes that channel so special.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for tuning in. Check us out tomorrow, same time, same place. Thatchannel.com. Liquid Lunch signing off for today.